Welcome to your last unit of the year for grade 4, which is engineering design. We're also considering this our science fair, so just be aware I might use that interchangeably with the unit title engineering and design in the future. As we go through the first couple slides here, I'm just going to go over what your goals for this are going to be. First of all, you're going to create something to do with plants or animals. Your driving question for this unit is going to be, how do certain plants or animals interact with the world that we live in? So again, it's a very broad question, but you need to think of something that's going to be more exact about plants and animals. Your outcomes and goals is I'll be able to create a testable experiment that involves the interaction of plants or animals with our world. You'll be able to utilize the scientific process in your experiment, and you'll be able to present in front of a camera to share your experiment and findings. Your unit writing masterpiece is going to be creating that presentation. Just a reminder, because I know there are a couple families out there who don't like to have their students' or children's face on the camera, there are other things that you'll be able to videotape. It doesn't necessarily have to be you in front of the camera. You can be showing your hands or your project. For your instructions for this week, I'd like you to first of all create a Google presentation titled My Experiment, and all of your work is going to be done in that presentation for this whole project. To begin thinking about how to creatively think and overcome goals, watch this YouTube video that's to the right. The video is not really about plants or animals, but how to overcome thinking obstacles so that you can, so I can help you think of something that is going to be a good experiment to practice or test. By the end of this week, your goal is truly to have an idea about an experiment that you might want to do, and it has to be to do with plants and animals. And again, if you can't think of anything, either ask your homeroom teacher, or you can ask me, or you can look online and simply Google different experiments. Your literacy connection for this week is going to be to learn a little bit about how we're going to be creating this presentation. And when you create your first Google presentation, I want you to know there's a notes section. It's way at the bottom. You can sort of see it here. It has some writing in it, and I'm scrolling in it. And this is where you're going to be taking your notes for what you're going to be giving your presentation. So your slideshow is going to be sharing information with me visually, so I can see it with pictures and different phrases and words. But then when you're at the end of the unit, when I have you actually present in a video format, you're going to want to have notes so you can become better at reading these out loud. So you have two different ways that you can create these notes at the bottom. The first is going to be what you see first, and that's the written out version, and that's going to be word for word. It's going to sound very rehearsed, like you're reading out of a book. So if you're not that great of a reader, you might not want to have it word for word because it almost sounds choppy. The second type is called bullet points, and that's how, as you see on my slide, they're numbers, but it's considered a bullet point format. So I have some sentences written out, I have some phrases written out, but a lot of the talking that I'm doing is more from my head. So I've practiced this before I've actually created it for you. So I can add more words and add more thoughts, but it doesn't have all of the words that I say because that would be very boring on the slide.